But my brother had an uncanny knack for just
cutting to the chase.
No, he would call me when he could still call me, like, and actually use his hands and things like that. But he would call. I'd be coming off the golf course. Maybe I thought I had a terrible day at the golf course or something. And I'm mad and angry and fussing and doing all these things, thinking it's just the sky is falling, right? Or or the Tar Heels lost or something. And I'm just fussing just because I'm upset about something that's so insignificant, really, in the grand scheme of things. And he would be my reality check. He would call it, like, he had an uncanny knack for finding those moments specifically. Call me.
Yeah. Welcome to the Next Step Podcast, episode number 23. We are so glad. You guys need to subscribe, like us, follow us, share us, all that kind of stuff, because this is all about real people taking real steps in their journey with Christ. And it's my honor to be the host. Today, we have a duo with you that you see pretty regularly on stage. This is Jonathan Hufstetler. There he is right there. Hey, Jonathan, what's happening?
How's it going?
And Brian Scott Alexander, all right?
Yeah.
But real name, they go by Scott. When he signs his name, he wants to be fancy. He goes B. Scott Alexander. And his friends have all kinds of creative nicknames for him. So as we get started, share some of those with us.
The most memorable would be the ones from my dad.
Okay. Well, so those are probably a little better.
Yeah. Hammerhead was one of the originals.
Okay. Did you like weird sharks or what?
It explains a lot about how crazy I am today, because I used my head as a battering ram as a child. So,
okay.
Not sure why, but
okay.
And I played.
Bring the medicine bottle over here.
Yeah, and I played sports a lot as a kid too. So just getting hit in the head with bats and balls and just sliding headfirst into home and stuff like that.
Wow. So you've actually had concussions and stuff like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Not confirmed or diagnosed, but probably.
But here's the thing about Scott.
Every now and again. I'm just kidding.
Hammerhead.
Hammerhead. And then as a child, I moved a lot, so he called me Wormy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Those are probably my favorites.
Okay.
Most of that's maybe it's because it's from my dad, but
so which one was first, Wormy or Hammerhead?
Wormy, I believe.
Okay, it was first,
and then Hammerhead next. Yeah.
And then just Stud, right?
And I mean, I haven't been called that in years.
Oh, okay. In years. This is Courtney said it yesterday. That's awesome. So for those of you that are watching, Scott plays regularly. He's the bass guy on the stage quite often, and most often, as a matter of fact.
Yes, sir.
And we're grateful to have him with us. The great thing about Scott is that his heart is as good as his bass playing is.
Oh, thank you.
Now, how about your singing?
It's been a while, so I'm not sure I could sing quite as well as I used to. But
I remember that song.
Yeah, it's been a long while. The last real singing I ever did was in a 3-piece band with some friends of mine at one of my former churches.
Okay.
We were called the Plaids.
The Plaids. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
Travis in that?
Travis was in that. Travis and Josh Effner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Plaids like a beach group too? Wasn't there a Plaids beach group as well?
It may have been. It certainly wasn't us.
Okay.
We were anything but the beach group.
Okay, what did you play?
A lot of at that time, it was Christian rock and roll type stuff, Audio Adrenaline, Newsboys.
Yeah.
DC Talk.
We tried DC Talk. That was really tough. We played mostly things of that, the 90s contemporary Christian music scene. That's what we played.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So we're used to seeing you on stage. Tell us a little bit about B. Scott or Brian Scott Alexander, also known as Wormy and Hammerhead and part of the Plaids.
And yes.
So tell us about your life, your family, all that kind of stuff.
I've grew up in McAdenville.
No kidding.
Yeah, Christmastown, USA. Spent the first 17 years of my life there. And
which part? Lakeside or the other side?
All sides.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we started off on, we called it the Hill.
Yeah.
It's still there, but it's just right there at the traffic circle.
Yep.
Our house no longer exists just because with us Saucy Burbank moving in. Right. So we started off there, and
Saucy Burbank, by the way, for those of you, that's the real estate people that turned it from an old town to a new town.
Yeah, an old mill town.
There you go.
So we did that and lived there till I was, 11 or so. And then we moved to the opposite side of town, the Main Street side of town, and stayed there through high school till my senior year of high school. And that's when my mom by then had going back to school to become a nurse. And my dad still worked at Far Yarns, Complex 46.
Wow.
And he was leaving the company. And so because he was leaving the company, we had to get out because McAdenville was still controlled by the mill at that point in time.
Right.
And we rented a house from them for around 6 months or so, right there near the entrance to McAdenville on 74. It's, Christmastown Dentistry is now there.
Yeah. But Travis Nixon's office.
Yeah, and he's actually my dentist. So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
By the way, great person, great dentist, Travis Nixon. If you're out there listening, y'all need to go see Travis.
Yeah, Travis is
just
fantastic.
Please send those residuals to me as the months come through.
So we moved to Gastonia, and I've lived in Gastonia ever since. My mom still lives in the house that we bought at that time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just running McAdenville this morning.
Oh, yeah?
I ran kind of towards your last house in McAdenville.
Oh, right.
Up to Lowell and then circled this circle and came back. I call it the Cirque de Loella.
Nice.
Anyway, I know.
That's mostly all uphill going towards Lowell.
Yeah,
so.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm not a runner, so that would have been terrible for me.
Oh, come on, man. You like your fit and buff. So there's got to be a story behind that. You got to be a CrossFit person or something. Tell us about that.
I do CrossFit at CrossFit Belmont here in town. And my wife is a much better CrossFitter than me. Courtney is far and away a better.
You mean more disciplined or is she more?
100%. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she's been doing 2-a-days now for quite some time. So her schedule allows her to, she makes it allow her. So she gets up at crazy hours of the morning. She'll go to the Planet. She'll do about an hour's worth of cardio at the Planet, go to work, do her thing there, and then come down here to Belmont and do CrossFit for an hour down here in Belmont, and then go home.
That's awesome.
And then some days still walk a couple of miles at like Martha Rivers or something, because we live near Martha Rivers now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I will add to that really quick. We did our global 6K for water run.
Yeah.
And I'm out there, and I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
For beating Courtney for like the first 2 minutes.
That's about right.
And then she passed me, and I was trying so hard. I was like, I'm not letting her pass me.
And
it didn't matter what I wanted to do. She was like gone way past me.
Yeah, Courtney's in shape.
She's fit.
She is very fit. And we talk all the time because Courtney was never an athlete growing up. And so to hear her be so successful at something like CrossFit now it shocks some of her childhood friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's not super fast at a lot of the things, but she is so consistent. The speed she starts with is the same speed she's going to end with. She never slows down. And there's no let up in her. And it's remarkable to watch.
That's cool.
Now, that's not me. I come out of the gate hot, like my hair is on fire.
Yeah.
And then about 40 steps into whatever I'm doing, I'm gasping for air.
Yeah.
But I like to pick things up and put them down, heavy things, and put them down.
Yeah.
Not so much. I want to do it once, not 1,000 times like in CrossFit. So we're trying to work on the things that I'm not great at.
Great. Well, CrossFit's a great thing to help people. We kind of jump fast forward to the story though. So we were leaving McAdenville, and you're about 11 years old, and you moved to Gastonia.
Yeah.
And where's your house in Gastonia?
So we live over near Martha Rivers Park.
Okay.
And right there off New Hawkins.
Is that the house? But is that the house that you grew up in until you live in a new house now, though, don't you?
Right. My wife and I bought a house in 2009. And so we moved out of McAdenville going into my senior year of high school.
Okay.
I was give or take 17. And I finished high school here in Belmont at South Point, and I was working at Food Line and just doing the thing there, and eventually worked my way into being part of an insurance carrier in Charlotte. And at the time I was going to Gaston College to try to get what I thought was going to be a nursing degree initially. Changed my major about a semester from entering their nursing program because I thought I wanted to wear a suit and tie to work every day. And I could not have been more wrong in that. So I worked at Aetna for a while uptown, and then my job was moving to Largo, Maryland, and I was not moving with it. So I made some really good connections, and eventually found myself at a broker's office over off Carmel Road in Charlotte. Did that for 13 years. And along the way, the love of nursing and trying to help people in that aspect kind of came back to me. And it's great that I didn't continue with nursing probably right out of high school. I was not, look, hindsight being what it is, I was not mature enough to handle the job or the schooling at the time.
That's interesting though.
So now at that point in time, they were selling the company. And as I'm graduating nursing school, as a matter of fact, the day that I graduated nursing school, this is just more of, I guess, I always get cold chills telling the story because it's so much of a God moment.
So let me catch us up.
Sure.
So you left high school from South Point.
Yes.
You were working food line in high school, and then you go to work for Aetna for a while, and then you go to work for a brokerage office. Then you decide to come back to Gaston College, and you were actually going to Gaston College when you were working at food line when you were first out of high school?
Right out of high school, I was at Gaston College.
Okay.
I took my prereqs when I was coming back to kind of the nursing thing while I was at the brokerage office.
So what was it that got you to saying, no, I need to come back and do that after you kind of pieced out on it for a while?
A lot of it probably stemmed from helping take care of my brother. So my brother was a special needs brother. He had cerebral palsy his entire life and was a high functioning cerebral palsy. Graduated high school and for the most part took care of himself at home. But he had epileptic seizures that we would occasionally have to deal with, things like that. But later in life, he developed multiple sclerosis, and that actually that took more of a toll on his body than anything. And we slowly watched him lose his ability to walk and transfer, and he became incontinent, and trying to help take care of a few of those things. Even though I was married and had moved out, still trying to help as much as I could. Once
you live with somebody with special needs, it affects you, marks you for life, usually in a very good way.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think that those people are placed on earth. I think they're placed on earth in people's lives for a very specific reason. And it usually, in my experience, it teaches me humility. It teaches me true, honest to goodness love, like God's love, because they love you and you, a lot of times you wind up loving them so much back, even though they can't quote unquote do anything for you. Right. The relationship is different.
Right.
And that's what I learned from my brother. My brother's one of my heroes. And,
what's your brother's name?
Ricky. Yeah. He also had a nickname, going back to that. We called him Hank. Yeah. And we called him Hank because, he loved music. And he had a guitar that he kept that thing beat out of tune all the time. And so for me to learn to play the guitar, I would go steal it and I'd tune it up and then I'd play and try to learn how to play, do a few things in my room. And then I would just sit it down in my room thinking that, it'll still be there when I get back to it tomorrow. No, Ricky would steal it and beat it out of tune again. And so I got really good at tuning a guitar.
Wow. Cool. But
he and I shared a guitar for a while till I bought my own. And then, but he and I that was one of the things we shared that we really loved together. That was just Ricky. Ricky was just super special. And he was a lot of the impetus for me to going back to school. So I got my prereqs at Gaston College, and then I needed to go to find a nursing school that still allowed me to work. So I wound up going to Mercy School of Nursing, which sadly is no longer there.
Right.
And
it's back behind Novant Hospital.
The school itself was over off Airwood.
Okay. Was really
and which worked out perfect for me. From a testing perspective, from a timing, like I said, it's part of the reason why I just keep going back to the fact that it was all in God's timing, because I was able to get into my TEAS testing, which I needed to get into the school. All of my prereqs fell right into place. I got into their nursing program, which was super competitive the first time, and made it through school. And it was right down the road from my office where I worked. And they offered clinicals on nights and weekends and classes on nights and stuff. It was just, it could not have been any better.
So you're able to continue working and then also go to school.
Correct. Yeah. So that's
hard because nursing is not an easy gig. It's not like, learn how to or
Yeah,
just give somebody a shot or whatever?
I had no clue what I was stepping into.
Hmm.
But I love the career that God's ultimately led me into.
Awesome.
And so the day they were selling the brokerage side, the insurance brokerage side of the business, and the day that sale went final was my graduation day.
Wow. How about that?
So,
yeah, I get chills thinking about that too.
Yeah, there have been quite a few moments like that in my life, mine and Courtney's life together, where it's just there's no denying that it's just been God moments. And
so think about that,
special.
like if you could go back, right, and you did it your way, where would you be? You probably wouldn't be in nursing right now because you'd have done it earlier on, and like
probably,
so there's so many
washed
times.
out. Yeah,
we can't see that beyond. We're like right here. We're like, here's what we see right in front of our face, and we want to do it our way. But then looking back, man, it's so much easier. You look back and you're like, thank you, God. Like thank you for having a much better plan than I had.
It's that infinite wisdom, right? That you can't see. Like you said, you only see what's in front of your face, right? And having those roadblocks sometimes are actually what saves you. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I'm extremely thankful for. That I see it, and you don't see it until it's done and it's in the past. And then when you look back on it, you're like, oh.
So that's where it comes down to that trust thing. It's like just sit back in it and trust God's plan. Mm-hmm. Stop trying to create God's plan.
Right. Right.
Sit back in it wherever you're at and just be like, okay, I'm here because God, you have me here, and just and that's constantly be open to it.
And honestly, that's a hard thing for me to do. Right.
Yeah. I am particularly you're fast out of the gate.
Right.
Get it done.
Exactly. Well, and I wouldn't necessarily classify myself as a type A personality, but I do like to take care of things on my own. Mm-hmm. It is something I don't know. Maybe I learned it as a child. My parents were both very hard workers, and my dad wanted to do. My dad was super handy. Could do anything. Could cook anything. Fix anything. He could have. Wow. I wish I had an ounce of some of the stuff that he had in me. But maybe that's where I learned some of that. It's just that to make my own way a little bit, to be my own man and things like that I needed to be able to take care of things on my own.
Right. And
sometimes it's hard to just let go and trust that things are going to work out for you, for the better in the end. And it's difficult at times. I think it's hard for anybody really, but I don't know, maybe it's the male portion of our society may struggle with that the most, just because we're taught from a young age to be the provider, to be the person to take control and to do those things. I don't know.
So how about Courtney? We skipped over Courtney. So in the middle of all that, when did you meet Courtney? High school, college, Gaston College, work?
She was still in high school.
Okay.
So we
robbing the cradle,
just a little bit, just a little bit. She was a senior at North Gaston. Yep. And we had some mutual friends where Travis comes back into play.
Okay.
So Travis, I'll tell you about Travis first. Travis and I were almost inseparable for a while. Mm-hmm. We were best friends. We were youth leaders together at our church. We grew up at the same church together. We did all these things.
Which was?
New Hope Church of God.
Okay.
Up here near what was Graham's Fish Camp.
Yep.
So
down
that's
on the left next to the new, what's the meat place?
Ray Nathan's now. Yeah, it's right there beside Ray Nathan's. Yeah. Yep. So, that's where I grew up going to church.
Right.
And Travis and I grew up together there. We were best friends, practically inseparable. We were at church all the time with each other. We were part of the same band together. We just did everything a lot together.
Which is where we actually met, not at New Hope, but I was in the Church of God, at Yorkwood Church of God. You were at New Hope Church of God. Yep. And, those Church of God groups will eventually cross paths or hang out or something. Were we teenagers? We probably were pretty close. Because we were playing basketball and stuff together. That's where
summer camps. We played down at the Yorkwood Church all the time at that gym.
The carpeted gym.
Oh my gosh, the carpeted gym.
Boom.
Yep. And I remember multiple games where apparently they had a stage set up in there at some point in time, and we had to make sure people didn't run into the edges of the stage because it bled into the court some. And
literally, like if you hit it, right?
You did. Yes, we had
dad joke. Stitches.
Hey, by the way, I have grandchildren now, and Ella always says literally. Is that like something the kids are learning a lot these days? Because are they hearing it from us? Literally, she says it every day. Literally this. Your kids say that? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I guess it's just mine.
Yeah.
Literally.
So the connection between me and Courtney, some of it starts with Travis and his girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
Christy. Christy went to school with Courtney and they were just talking to me about a few things, and I wasn't dating anybody at the time. And they were like, hey, we're going to this North Gaston football game and some of our friends are going to be there. I think you should come with us. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go.
Right.
And that's where I like to tell the story that this weird, lanky, geeky kid met Courtney, and she had pity on him and decided to go out with him.
Okay.
So it wasn't without a little bit of convincing, and we went out as with like in friend groups initially first.
Yeah.
And not long after that, we started dating, and the rest is kind of history.
That's cool.
We dated for 4 years. And then we got married in 2003, October of 2003, October 18th, actually.
Okay. You got an anniversary coming up then.
20 years coming up this October. That's awesome. It blows my mind a little bit, to be honest.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we got married October 18th, 2003.
Okay.
A Hallmark holiday was the sweetest day of the year that year. And she was still working part-time and at school at UNC Charlotte, where she got her marketing degree.
What kind of part-time work did she do?
She worked at a food brokerage.
Okay.
Over in Charlotte.
Okay.
At the time. And she did that for a little bit after school, using her marketing degree.
Okay.
But yeah, that was, I mean, in about a month or so, it'll be 20 years ago. And,
wow.
And we don't have any kids, no pets. It's just me and her, and we kind of love it.
Okay. Nice.
Kind of love it.
And I will say this. I've been over to Scott's house, and you can tell.
Once or twice.
Yeah. Like, it is spotless.
Yeah.
Like, I could clean my house, and like, I could walk outside to the mailbox and back, and it would be tore up. But your house is spotless.
Oh, well, thank you.
Which is pretty awesome. And it smells wonderful too.
Well,
always.
That's cool.
That is
even if you show up unannounced, his house is spotless.
Everything's feed that put away.
That's
a little tidbit of information.
I'm not sure that's necessarily a testament to me as much, because that's mostly Courtney. We stay picked up. So cleaning the place isn't that difficult, especially she and I both work a full-time job, and we're going to the gym, and we're doing all the things. So we're just not there enough, I don't think, sometimes to
mess it up.
Yeah.
Dual income. Dinks,
dual income, no kids.
Dink will deal with a clean house. That's all.
With a clean house, yeah.
Right.
It helps that we don't have pets too. I mean, we love dogs. We love kids.
Yeah.
But we've entered like grandparent mode, I guess, at this point in time. We'll borrow your kid every now and again, like families and friends. Like we may borrow their kids and feed them full of candy and caffeine and shake them up and then send them home.
I love it.
We've been doing that now for a while.
Don't send any of each other.
I was getting ready to take him up. And I was like, no.
We've been doing that for a while. We're practiced at that now.
That's awesome.
And we love dogs too. My wife likes Dachshunds, little wiener dogs.
Oh yeah, we do too.
Yeah. I want a big dog. Like I want a pit. That's what I grew up with, was pits.
Yeah.
But it'd be cruel for us to have an animal at this point in time. We're just not home enough.
Yeah. Understand what you mean.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a nurse?
I graduated in 2014. Okay. So 9 years this year.
Okay. So I remember the first time I saw you on the job, you were at Atrium, the pediatric ward. Yeah. One of the kids that was from our church that was up there for something.
Yeah.
And I turned around and there's Scott.
I was working.
And you had just begun talking. You'd begun playing for us some or attending the church, right? We moved in.
If I remember correctly, so I was at LCH. I forget what floor. But I was at Levine Children's Hospital working the night shift.
Yep.
And I saw you come, like I was on the end computer of our little nursing station.
And you saw me.
And I saw you come around the corner and go into the patient room. And I was like, oh, was that Ray?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to stick my foot in my mouth and barge into the room if it weren't you. Right. So, and it was just happened to be the room that I was helping take care of that night as well.
Yeah.
They were one of my patients that night, a part of my assignment. And I waited till you came out and I was like, hey,
Yeah.
And we struck up a conversation. I think you actually wound up going back into the room with me.
Yeah.
For a couple of minutes. So
that was cool. And you're good. I know you're good at what you do. I've seen it there. And I've also seen now where you work at Gastonia Pediatric.
Gastonia Children's Clinic.
Children's Clinic. That's right. And gosh, just a legendary place. All of our children went there. All of our grandchildren have gone there.
Yes.
Great place.
It is the reputation precedes them, and they continue to hold it up to
well,
this day.
you're part of the day now. You're not them. You are part of them.
Well, I've only been there a short stint. I'm not sure I've impacted them as much as they've maybe have impacted me. So
you're good at what you do because I've seen you do it.
Well, thank you very much.
But also, tell us about how Christ became real in your life. Was there a moment? Was it more like over a season? I remember in previous conversation, you said you spent a lot of time at church and Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So I've always
sometimes it makes people resent it.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say I was born in it. My mom and dad weren't going to church at all for a very short stint early on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then dad had a gentleman that witnessed to him at work.
Right.
And was like, and he thought a lot of this gentleman and said, hey, you need to come to church with us. And so we wound up going to New Hope Church of God and just stayed there for 24 years.
Wow.
And I've just always, it's one of the, I don't have an elaborate testimony where it was just an aha moment.
Yeah. The master lights up in the sky.
Yeah. It's not like, you're right. And angels descended upon you, right? I'm not. My dad has one of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. It's just always been something that I've known and have been a part of. It's just, it's an integral part of my life. It's something I've always done. And I truly can't remember a time either where I've thought about it not being a part of my life. It's part of who I am. It helps shape like daily decisions for me. It helps. It impacts future planning and things of that nature. So so I don't really have like one of those grand moments that there's a part of me that would love to, but at the same time, I don't know that I would want the pain that comes with the before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like seasons too. It's like you're growing like fruit on the vine, and at the right time, it kind of just drops. It's not like you're a wreck and you have to have a bad story before you come and turn to follow him. I think it's interesting. You just said something. I don't know if you said it, caught it or not, but your dad's already in heaven, right?
He is, yes.
And you said my dad has one of those moments. I think that's a great way to put it.
The story lives. His testimony lives on with even though he's not here physically.
Absolutely,
get that out.
But we believe everybody lives forever somewhere. Your dad is alive.
Dad is alive in heaven. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
My brother as well.
Yeah.
Dad passed away at 18. My brother in 20. My dad passed with liver cancer, and my brother with complications of MS.
Right.
And
wow,
it
hard
is
couple of years.
Yeah, it was a tough couple of years. Two of the largest men in my life. I think a lot about dad. As much as I miss dad, like I said, my dad was there's the saying that you want to be a master of none, but it's the jack of all trades, but a master of none. And my dad could have been a master of anything. He could have been a professional cook, plumber, carpenter. He built air compressors for race teams and hospitals. That was what he did for a living.
Okay.
But what I saw of him on the opposite side was more about how to sometimes keep my mouth closed. I don't always follow that advice, but what I saw on the opposite side of just being the man he was the quiet Christian that he was, constantly leading his family and a lot of times living Christ more than he was talking Christ.
Right.
And to me, that spoke more volumes, I think, than anything, because sometimes it's not just what you say, right? You can tell me anything, but if I don't see you live it, then what you tell me it doesn't have a lot of meaning.
Absolutely. Zig Ziglar used to say, your children more attention pay to what you do than what you say.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's great English, but it's memorable. So you said he built what for race teams at the hospitals? I didn't know the hospitals had race teams.
Oh no! So race teams and hospitals.
Oh, okay,
have very large.
I got this patient.
Very large, complex air compressor systems.
Oh, okay.
It feeds at the hospital. It feeds the air in the wall, the oxygen, and just your standard medical air.
Yeah.
In the wall.
I bet you didn't know this, but Justin Wallace used to work at Atrium, and he worked on medical air.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Justin's our student pastor.
Yeah, that's
family
awesome.
pastor.
And then naturally race teams with all the air that they need working on all their vehicles and things like that. Yeah, exactly. So,
but he made barbecue like no other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
amazing. And he made his own sauces too. Didn't he make the sauces, or did he get those? Or?
We purchased a sauce and then tweaked it to match what we wanted, how we wanted it to taste. Because it had all the right basic ingredients, and it was just cheaper for us to go buy it and tweak it than it would be for us to make our own.
So how did you tweak it? What did you add to it? You still have the recipe? You still make it?
I could probably still make the sauce. The meat is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did to that. He stuck his foot in it or something. I'm not sure what he did.
It was so good.
It was always so good. I still have his grills at home. We're at Mom's. They're still at Mom's.
Wow. Do you use them? Are they more like trophies?
I have used them. Okay. I don't use them on a regular basis now, but we have used them because I've smoked ham and turkeys and stuff like that on them recently.
Yeah.
And he at one point in time had 19 turkeys smoking on one of his trailered grills.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he kept it all straight. He had scribble handwriting. He would just scribble some stuff out on a piece of paper. And I'm like, how do you read this? And he's like, I know where it's at. And I'm like, well, as long as you do, I guess it's all that matters.
How about that?
But yeah, the sauce, the base of the sauce is a very hillbillies style base of the sauce. And then we tweak it with adding a few extra ingredients here and there we want to add a little heat to it, with some red pepper flakes. And we cook it for longer to kind of get it to distill down some. So,
man, I'm going maybe some of that sometime.
I'm so hungry. Yeah.
It is
just talking about it.
Supper time, right? We're recording this.
The sad part is not long ago. It's funny you mentioned that. Mom was with the construction we had at the house, we got the new refrigerator. So Mom was taking our old one and then cleaning out her old refrigerator so that she could put ours in its place. She found a pan of Dad's barbecue in the freezer that had just been there for
it's been frozen
years, frozen forever. And it was not going to be any good at this point in time, but she was so sad to throw it away because it was the last little bit of barbecue that we had that was Dad's barbecue.
Yeah. It makes sense.
You're
very sensitive to things like that. You pick up on a lot of things. I think that makes you good at playing the bass too.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things, my mother-in-law is your greatest fan. And
I love her.
He gets that thing. When he starts turning his face that way, and he plays this way, he turns his face that way. It's like something's happening. It's really good.
Yeah, it has been. I've always moved a lot when I've played. I've been playing for quite some time now. I'm 44 now.
No, we're 24.
Oh, 24.
We've been playing for about 4 years.
We started early.
4 years. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Got your license at 6.
John and I started at the same time. Yeah, we have. Some days it's painful to think about, bud.
Yeah.
So just about music, since not everybody that's out there are musicians, and you're both very good musicians, and you're both good vocalists and those kinds of things. Even though you say you hadn't sung in a long time,
I haven't sung.
You're still singing in the background, that kind of stuff. We don't have a microphone on you yet, but
yeah, there's a reason probably for that. Yeah.
So what makes you good together when you're musicians? What are some of the things that make your sound good, your experience good? What are some of those things? Because a lot of people are out there going like, I guess they just play the chords and they get it, but there's got to be a lot of that sensitivity and that feel and that catching a vein of something you're feeling while you're playing, and you hear from one another. And
I don't want to speak for John, but for me, part of what I think what makes us mesh together is the fact that we've been playing music for a long time together.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
Like physically together.
Right.
Either at the Pointe or previously at Union Road. Jonathan and I have made a lot of music together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just hours and hours of spending time with one another.
Just that's a lot of it. The other part of it too is that that I think we generally enjoy we generally enjoy playing music. We've made a lot of music together. We enjoy the people that we're making music with.
Yeah. So you got a relationship outside of that.
All of that plays a part. But specifically at church, what makes the sensitivities part is I know Jonathan is anointed to do what he does. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's always had that anointing. Knowing him from a much younger age than he and I are now, he's always been anointed for that.
Awesome.
And having that trust and knowing the anointing is there is huge from my perspective. To know that the leadership is there and the leadership is anointed. It's not just because I want to do it. It's an anointed position.
Right. So by anointed, you mean there's a specific calling on that person?
There is a specific
and God's
calling.
given a special touch to them. Absolutely.
There is a specific calling. There is a specific skill set that, while yes, he's had to work at it to foster it, to foster that calling, there is a specific skill set and that the Lord placed in his life and in his hands and in his vocal cords specifically for this time, for these people. Right.
So your hearts are kind of bonded together because you experience a calling to be a part of that team together.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
As a team, we all need to be sensitive to the Spirit as well, as the Spirit's leading us in worship, to be able to step out there on faith and know that what God has put in us, we can hopefully lead others into a more worshipful experience. And that, to me, the worship aspect of service, it serves an absolute purpose. Yeah. And to me, the purpose is to open people's hearts and minds to be able to receive the word of God, which would, in a traditional church kind of timing, would come next. Right. And so, but even in situations, I'm sure Jonathan's been a part of this, being part of some Pentecostal services. A lot of times that's what we experienced was that's all there was. Where there were services where God spoke to the people strictly through music. And that's always fascinated me. Yeah. That, and it's how I feel probably closest to God is when not necessarily on stage, but when I'm listening to music, when I'm playing music, if I'm just practicing at home, and it comes out in me sometimes on Sunday mornings when I can't stand still. I feel like it would be, I can't bottle up a lot of the times what I'm feeling. And so it spills over into making me move all over the place. And I have been afraid at times that I'm going to hit somebody with my guitar. Thank goodness it hasn't happened yet, but
good.
I've almost hit the LED board though. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
With the head of the guitar, I've almost hit the LED board.
How about for you? What do you think draws you together and makes you a good musical team?
I think it's just the heart of the team, right? Because we all have, and it's something I pray every week before service, and it's that we aren't seen, that it's not, and that you're not seen, and that the Pointe Church isn't seen. Yep. But it's God that's lifted up through everything. Right. And so I think the team has that same mentality. Right. We've got a great group of people. Scott's highly dedicated, but it's, and I don't want to knock on this, but I know other churches and things who have gone out to the bars and found somebody who just is a good musician. Yeah. And they're there because they're a good musician. Yep. But I feel like we've got a team who's great musicians, but also has the heart for worship. And I think that's a huge key in, it's not about us. It's not about Scott. It's not about Robbie, me, whatever. It's about something so much greater than that. It's about lifting God up. And then, I really pray that every week that he be exalted, that he be lifted up through what we're doing, through our worship and through our praise and the music. So,
right. Awesome. Well, it's not our talent anyway. Right. It's a talent that he's allowing us to borrow. It's how I've always felt. Yeah. And it would be a shame it would be a shame for us to have that God would bestow upon us a skill and for us to not give it back to him.
Right. That's a great way to put it. So you and Courtney have been married for almost 20 years?
Almost 20 years.
What does Courtney do? She's still marketing?
No, she's a school teacher.
A school teacher?
Yeah, she's at Piedmont Community Charter.
Piedmont Community Charter School.
Oh, wow. At the high school.
Cool. The high school.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Is that the one that's out near Warlick?
No, that's the one up off of Robin Wood Road.
Okay.
Near the Y.
That's what
I mean. Warlick Y. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the Warlick Y.
It's a brand new school.
Yeah, it's a fantastic facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is new, and they don't want you putting push pins in the wall. They make you use command hooks and stuff. So
I bet no high schoolers backtalk her. I would imagine she could just, if the law would allow, she would just body slam a teenage boy.
I must break you.
She is so much more timid than y'all think she is.
But she could though.
She absolutely can. She could easily deadlift every kid in the school easily. She could physically deadlift them. She could probably outlift most of the kids in the school. Just from her time at CrossFit. So I mean,
wow.
Don't backtalk.
No, don't mess with her.
Don't backtalk. No, she's been blessed with some really great classes over there too. She moved over there. I lose track, but I want to say 3-4 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood from Gaston County Schools, and it has been a complete life change. It's
cool.
It's been fantastic for her. And that makes me happy.
And man, kids are just a challenge. They just are, right?
Yes.
And it's just a different era, even though it's always been hard. So my wife was a teacher when we first got out of college, and she told me about this kid that gave her a hard time in class one day. And she was like, if you do one more thing, and she turned around and he started to do something, and she turned and she said, go ahead, make my day.
I'd almost pay to see Courtney do that.
Oh boy, that would be good.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a different era too. Kids this day and age are just there. I'm sure everybody probably said that when we were all kids too.
There's just different
I'm not
things.
Sure what to do with.
I mean, just one of the things is this.
Oh yeah.
These things.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of looking at one another, we're looking at one another. And it's like I'm talking to you over there through this instead of that.
Yes.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yes, a lot of that does go on.
So how's our church helped you to take your next steps in your journey with Christ? Are there some things where you've really can see as markers in your life? Loving Jesus or becoming like Jesus or sharing Jesus.
Sure.
You've been through 2 deaths of 2 people that are very close to you. So that obviously has an impact on you while you've been with us, but what are some other things?
The biggest aspects, I guess the biggest placeholder that the Pointe has in our life is naturally just the family of people that I have, either from the band, is probably the closest knit family that I have at the Pointe, but having them be there too, whenever we did go through those losses, has been instrumental. It's I can always count on them for a laugh.
Right.
Whether it's in our text group or whether it's physically on Sunday, we're I like to think we're a fun group to be around. But even in the serious moments, right, I could seeing these knuckleheads come through and pay some respects and just and be there for you
during that time
is true family, not just friendship, not just being part of a band. That's family. Other aspects of the church too have just been your teachings and
thank you.
And just some of the spiritual maturity of being able to think about things maybe through a different lens than I think that's where I'm at currently with my walk with Christ, is that it's not some ideas of mine may have changed from where I was a child and I was told, and it's not that it's the hardcore things that are still the same, right? The bedrock of Christianity, the central things of Christianity are still there. But there are things that I've thought about that make me think differently now, and part of that is just being able to sit under the tutelage of the leadership of the church and the maturity that I've physically, just because I'm older now, I think differently, but also the more I read and listen and to additional ideas, it has helped me mature in my walk with Christ. Like because I didn't have an aha moment, sometimes I find that difficult. Yeah. Because there are times when I'm like, I feel like I've heard everything, I've seen everything, I've done everything. What else is there really to do? But there's always something to tweak an idea, or maybe it's not so much an idea as much as it is adding to your faith that you may already have, right? Because faith to me sometimes goes in waves. That some days you've got all the faith in the world, and then there are other days where it's a struggle to get the grain of a mustard seed together, just to have the faith to finish the day. And so I think that's probably the better part of where I'm at least, is I feel like I've got a better relationship and a better understanding of what God wants me to be doing and the calling that He's had on my life. And I don't think that would have necessarily, I don't want to say it wouldn't have happened. It may still have happened, but I think being at the point and having the relationships that I have there at the point with my church family has certainly helped foster a lot of that maturity. Well, so you point out the importance of group. Your worship team is a group, and we're always talking about circles are better than rows, but who do you want to be there for you in the good times and the bad? Well, we hope that we can create environments where people want to be together with other people, and that there'll be safe people and there'll be people they can enjoy and that kind of stuff too. That's really cool. There. Yeah. This group is, I don't know, man. Some days I wonder where I'd be without them, to be honest. Or would they be without you? There's those people that kind of say, if you put your hand in a glass of water and you take your hand out of the glass of water, then in 5 minutes, you don't know the difference. I don't believe that. I believe it's kind of like every time you put yourself into anything, it changes. Somebody 100%. Said it this way. It's like the person who puts their foot in the river never steps in the same river again because water always moving. Right. But also the person's never the same again. Right. Because every time you step, something different's happening. I mean, you take a portion of the river with you. That's right. As a youth leader, we used to teach our teenagers that trees are mostly water. They are, if you plant a tree by a river, it becomes mostly the river. And we would use that as an illustration to tell them that you need to be careful about the friends you keep around you. Right. And that's, so choosing your friends, choosing your family is vitally important, because some of your family you don't get a chance to choose, right? Right. The family you can choose, you need to be smart about. And and thankfully the Pointe Band is a family that I choose and will continue to choose. That's awesome. So as we draw this conclusion, I hate to draw the conclusion. We can keep going because there are people that just want to know. So who are these people that play behind the scenes? Gotcha. Okay. So on the keys, it's going to be Angie and or Andre. Yeah. Electric guitars, mostly Robbie. Occasionally Brandon, if you're out there. It's been a while, bud. Yeah. It's been a while. Love the muscle pictures on Facebook and Instagram though. We're so grateful that you're keeping us up with all that. Man. I get a text. It's hunting season right now. It is hunting season. Brandon usually disappears when hunting season. He doesn't. Yeah, this time of year he's on hiatus anyway. Okay, all right. He's helping the infestation problem out there. Yeah, right. He's trying his best for sure. Good. He called them hide and seek participants this year. So hide and seek participants. Yeah. Obviously, Jonathan doing all the things, and then we don't see Steve as often, but Steve was playing the drums. Now Justin plays the drums with us most Sundays. Right. And then Megan. Yep. Megan. Excuse me, Megan. Right. And she spells it weird too. Yeah, she does. We went. She's still late, isn't she? I can't get in. I can't really get into that. Yeah. She's in my phone as Megan. Megan. Okay. And then and Jody has been partnering with us some here recently too, and she's been a fantastic addition. And you got Brent. And you got Brent. I hear somebody in the background. I was getting to you, Brent. I promise. I promise. And Brent, again, another one of those people that just does all the things, right? Whether he's physically on stage and leading in worship or playing one of the guitars. I think
we get a picture at the last minute.
I think there was 1 month. I think you played electric, acoustic, and bass like all in 1 month, didn't you? Yeah. And then
I can play the radio.
There you go.
Watch the button, Sirius radio.
And then doing the things behind the scenes. I mean, like even here, doing things behind the scenes that are just vitally important to making sure that the worship experience is as good as it can be. It's I'm proud to say that I'm part of that at the point, and I tell people about it all the time. And it is.
You guys have set a high standard. So a lot of times people come along and say, "Hey, I play or I sing," right?
Yeah.
And you have to kind of go through and say, "Can you really play? Can you really sing?"
I will confess though, the first time I played at the Point was we were called Forest Point at that point in time.
That's
over
right.
Here in the
Forest
Y.
Point. We still do business as Forest Point.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was over here at the Y, and I remember how we came to be at the Point. And
how'd that happen?
So I was part of the worship band at Union Road Church of God at the time, and we had a week off, and Jonathan was coming over here to lead worship, and me and him were talking after. I believe it was after service one Sunday, wasn't it?
I don't remember what I wore yesterday. So
I don't remember now.
I vaguely remember.
I just remember him inviting me and Courtney to come over here and being like, "Hey, I'm coming over here. You guys should come on over here. I think it'll be awesome." And I was like, we'll go. Got the week off. Why not? Right.
So that was 11, 12, 13, something like that.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah. 2011. Yeah. And so we came in and it was obviously great to see a familiar face on the stage right away. Right. Yeah. But, and then, we loved it, almost right out of the gate. And then it took us, I'm sure for you too, probably it took a little while to make the transition, but it took us a little bit of time to make the transition. And
sure.
You maybe, did you make the transition before us? Because maybe Jamie came in behind you over at Union Road. Was that it? Or were you behind Jamie?
I
think Jamie came in behind you. Yeah.
Now, to be clear, we're talking about just making a move, not transitioning. You're supposed to know that. So some of my African American brothers also say when you die, you're transitioning. So not ghosts come back to life or any of the other stuff that's going on culturally.
Just moving from Union Road Church, we had already been praying about what God wanted for us in our life. And, and we were starting to become a little bit unsettled. Just the Spirit was kind of had us a little bit unsettled. And
wrestling.
This came about. It's ironically, it's also kind of the same way we started going to Union Road Church of God. I had a friend of mine that called me and knew we were wrestling with a decision. For some reason, God laid it on his heart to call us, and we went over there and absolutely loved it. And it was the right spot for God, right spot that God had opened up for us. And that's awesome. I've seen that to be a consistent theme in my life. And and so the same thing happened here, and it wasn't long after that. Jonathan was like, "Hey,
rope you in?
Yeah, it's time. It's time you step up here and start playing something." The first week I was with the band, I was playing the guitar, the electric guitar. Okay. And I was so intimidated. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was so intimidated, and I don't know why. I don't know why, but I was super. I'm going to blame it on Robbie.
Because Robbie's good, right?
Robbie's so good.
Yeah.
But
edit that part out, Brent.
We're not going to be able to do anything with him now, are we?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's initially how we came to the Point and became a part of, and it just became a part of a central part of our life cool. Now. So, and we love it at the Point.
Well, let's go and move to this final segment of our time together where we ask relatively meaningless questions just to know a little bit more about you. Sure. Jonathan, you can help me with this tonight too.
Oh, wow.
Let it rip. Go ahead.
That's all right. So, Carolina or State?
Oh, I'm 100% Tar Heel.
Okay. There's medicine for that, right?
No.
Richard Rinaldi, who just was on, he will take
for such a great thing.
Coffee or diets or regular Sundrop for breakfast?
Oh, I'm a soda guy, so I'm going to go Sundrop all the way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Diet, Tyrion.
I don't drink any coffee at all.
Oh, really?
I don't drink coffee at all. Even working night shift at the hospital, I never drank coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always have to brown mine up and sugar it up and all that kind of stuff. I admire these people that drink their coffee black.
My mom's like that. Mom, she recently she texted me the other day and said, "Hey, I got me some new coffee. It's this Black Rifle coffee stuff." And I'm like, I hope you like it. I've heard it's kind of intense. I said, are you gonna do it like you normally fix your coffee? She said, well, yeah, why would I do it any different? And I was like, I don't know, I guess not. But she actually has a little bit of coffee with her cream and sugar.
Okay, all right. Good deal. Yeah. Now, Jonathan's representing today. See that?
Yeah.
Black Rifle Coffee established 2014.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Black Rifle.
Exactly.
Coffee. All right. Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Tony's or Dairy Queen?
Oh, that's going to depend on the day. I like them both. So Tony's is just a classic, right? And if you're from Gastonia, you've got to, it's kind of bred in you to love Tony's, right?
Yeah.
And then, so I really enjoy, I don't get their milkshakes or anything. I just straight up get a cone.
Yeah.
And then, Dairy Queen, I'm a Blizzard guy, but I'm
Blizzard? Oreo, Heath Bar.
I'm a classic guy, just the strawberry all the way.
Strawberry Blizzard, okay.
Nothing super fancy, just strawberry Blizzard. Strawberry ice cream at Tony's even.
Awesome. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
There's a consistency there. Mountains or the beach?
Both, really. I love them both.
Okay.
Pretty much equally too.
Get credit for that.
Yeah. I like them both. We spend time at both.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast. Yeah.
North or South?
South.
Oh, for sure. See, this is a deep Southern boy. I like
yes,
it.
Sir. Yes, sir.
John, how about you?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, like, I can answer most of these for him.
Oh, nice.
And that's why I was thinking. I was like,
right.
man,
have you missed one yet?
Answer these
in your head?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. That's why you are good on stage together. You know, intuitively understand what's going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, Republican or Democrat? No, we're not going there.
I'll answer that if you want.
No, we'll leave it. We'll leave that alone.
Start the timer over.
Old school or new school church?
Oh, because I value the worship experience so much, probably new school church. However, there's a small caveat in the aspect that old school church, there's something you can't replicate about an old school church, and the feeling you get at an old school. Just we talked Sunday. There was a mention of a big tent revival, and just something you can't replicate there. Yeah. I grew up in an old school church.
Sawdust Trail.
Yeah. It was, we had red carpet pews and a piano and a separate organ with an internal Leslie. And we sang Southern gospel
music. Sounds like an organist that plays inside the organ. What's Leslie's name? I've never seen her.
It's a part of the organ that just makes it work. But then we sang Southern gospel, like Gaithers and redback hymnal music and things like that. That's actually where I learned to play the bass, and doing that Southern walk that Southern gospel walk as I like to call it. But there's something about that you just can't replace. And I still enjoy that a little bit. My mom goes to a church where they're trying to do a little bit of both. Yeah. And the times I've been there and have played with them a little bit, and they've done some of that old school stuff, I've had so much fun playing it, just because maybe it brings me back to my roots or something. I don't know.
So Leonard Sweet says that great worship is called a harmonic convergence, which is a fancy word for what happens on a swing set. You lean back and you kick forward.
Oh, yeah.
You lean back and you kick forward. I just think there's a lot of truth to that as far as that's concerned. Ford or Chevy?
Chevy.
Okay. Help me.
Oh, I don't know. I was just listening.
North Pole or South Pole? What's the difference?
Yeah.
Right? It's called
Ernie Ball
places,
or Fender,
right?
You know, we start going to
what is that?
Ernie Ball or Fender.
So if you had a chance to go anywhere in America or anywhere else in the world, which one of those would you choose?
Anywhere in America.
And where would you go?
Oh, there's so many great places that I haven't been in America yet. I'd love to do like a national parks just hop through across all of the national parks through the country. I'd love to do that.
Cool.
Do some hiking and see all the cool sites out in like Colorado and Utah and things like that. I have no real desire to leave the United States. I feel like there's so many great things here in our own very own country that why would I want to leave?
That's definitely true.
I'm going to one of I'm going next month. I'm going to one of my favorite places.
Which is?
Orlando, going to Disney World.
Okay, fantastic. Which part of Disney? Where are you going first when you go through the gate?
The first place I'm going, because I'm driving through the night to get us there, is the bed.
Okay.
That's going to be the first place.
That's fair enough. Do you stay on property or off property?
Always stay on
So
property.
Where's your favorite place to stay?
The Caribbean.
Caribbean, okay.
Yeah, Caribbean Beach Resort.
Hey, man.
Goombay
Punch, man.
It is, it's a great spot for us because it's just centrally located. They've got easy access to multiple ways of traveling around the parks and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a great spot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Night or day?
Night. I'm a little bit of a night owl.
Okay.
Number one, and number two, it's much cooler at night. I like it a little bit cooler.
Nice.
And this hot weather can go.
Good deal.
It's been
Panthers
too hot.
or other.
I'm generically not much of a pro football fan.
Okay.
I pull for the Panthers kind of just because they're the hometown team.
Yeah.
I grew up a Redskin fan.
Okay.
But name changes and all the ownership and all that other stuff kind of burned me a long time ago. I am, however, in a fantasy football league this year.
Okay,
for the first time in a decade.
Who's your quarterback?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, good deal. Me too. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll either be celebrating or be crying on the shoulder.
Absolutely. He laid a goose egg this weekend, but he
had a hard weekend. He did.
But that's okay. We're doing it just for fun with some friends of ours at the gym, and but I'm a bigger college sports fan.
Cool.
I love college football. College basketball is probably my all-time favorite.
And is it Carolina? Is that where it starts?
Always
starts and ends Carolina.
Starts and ends with North Carolina, and that's
awesome.
I think I pull for the Tar Heels in everything, like including swimming or something, something obscure.
Which we do have a good battle there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Duke versus that. You got to have a little creative tension on stage.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my daughter went to South Carolina, so I always pick on people and say, no, we're better. And no, we're first. We're 1799 and we're 1801. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So one time I actually looked it up. I said, I'm going to look up all the titles we've won and talk junk. And I looked at South Carolina's titles. And I looked at North Carolina's titles. And let's change the subject. Because there are a lot of
they've won quite a few titles. It's I wish our basketball team maybe had pulled through on a couple of extra ones, but hey.
Yeah.
You can't.
Makes you appreciate the ones you got.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely a North Carolina fan in just about everything.
Do you have a favorite Bible verse or something that God is saying to you right now scripturally that is a lesson for you or something you're being reminded of?
The one that I always go back to is probably a very popular one. It's just that I can do all things through God who strengthens me. Because it's not that I necessarily doubt myself a lot, but I think that anytime you push yourself to be a little bit better, whether that's musically or professionally or personally, you're going to hit struggles, and you need help, that became a much bigger Bible verse in my life during losing my brother and my dad.
Some days you can't put one foot in front of the other, take a breath, right?
And still to this day, like as much as I miss my dad, I've told my mom recently, I've admitted to her recently that as much as I miss my dad, when I lost my brother, I feel like a very real part of me died. Very real part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it's still, I still catch myself, whether it's,
you ready to call him or text him?
He had an uncanny knack. I always called my dad just for generic wisdom and advice. But my brother had an uncanny knack for just
cutting to the chase.
No, he would call me when he could still call me, like, and actually use his hands and things like that. But he would call. I'd be coming off the golf course. Maybe I thought I had a terrible day at the golf course or something. Now I'm mad and angry and fussing and doing all these things, thinking it's just the sky is falling, right? Or or the Tar Heels lost or something, and I'm just fussing just because I'm upset about something that's so insignificant, really, in the grand scheme of things. And he would be my reality check. He would call it, like he had an uncanny knack for finding those moments specifically to call me.
Yeah. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Yeah. He'd say, "Hey, dude, what's happening?" He'd say, Hey, Scotty." I'd say, "Hey, bud, what's up?" And I said, "What you doing?" He said, "I'm just laying here like usual." And I'm like, here I am.
Complaining
and being ungrateful that I've been outside all day playing a game where I have full use of all of my faculties. Yeah. And he was great for that. And still to this day, even though he doesn't call me, to this day, he's still that reality check for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been great to get to know you, and the people are excited about getting to know you. And we invite you to come back next time. This Sunday, certainly. Scott's going to be playing more than likely, but also to the next podcast, episode number 24. Who's coming? He's got to wait and see. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Scott, for coming to be with us.
Thanks for having me.